me on the stage now. I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real. I'm feeling so ruthless. My time. None of you people can tell me.
Vinderen af Danish Esport Racing Championship får chancen for at komme ud og køre i en ægte racerbil på Jyllandsringen. Men det er altså ikke hvilken som helst racerbil. Det er nemlig en Ferrari 488 Challenge-bil. Går du med drømme om at komme ud og prøve en ægte racerbil, så gå ind på esport-racing.eu og tilmeld dig DERC.
Round 7 of the Danish Esport Racing Championship heads to the home of British motorsport. It heads to Silverstone. I am Conor Maddock. I'm joined by Lorenzo Bonda here in the commentary booth for what is going to be 2 races of action here in the Danish Esports Racing Championship. I welcome you to this broadcast here on the Esports Racing channel. Of course, thank you very much to Hugo Luis, currently pushing all those buttons behind the cameras, and Istvan Valo for providing us our track cameras to use here on RaceSpot TV. Coming into this, Lasse back. He has been the man of the moment so far. You can see the schedule that has been up on your screen. We've done Bathurst, Barcelona, Imola, Suzuka, Montreal, Monza. We have Silverstone and then one other race to go. Lasse back though, he has been the man of the moment. He has been the man of the season. We can basically crown him the championship winner already with a scoreline like that. Over 700 points above Andreas Joachimsen. But for that P number 2 and back, things are a lot tighter indeed. Martin Christiansen there in and amongst the fight with Marcus Jensen and Magnus Vasterson, all trying to vie for those 2nd and 3rd spots towards the top of the standings. But with that, I introduce Lorenzo Bonda. Coming into this one, Lasse back, he has a target on his back, but can anyone in this instance prevent the double combo that he's been pulling off, what seemingly every week so far?
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult challenge to actually beat Lasse back, because Lasse has been dominant basically all rounds, all season long, and nobody has found an answer. The only one who actually did find an answer, it wasn't quite effective, was Martin Christensen, which actually sits in 2nd place, about 2 tenths right behind him. But I think this track, apart from the other tracks, which is more wide and actually allows more closer racing, and the draft will come in effect over here. We'll actually make sure all drivers stay close for the first few laps, and after that is up to the drivers' skills themselves to dictate the race pace.
Of course, one big theme throughout this race and throughout these final rounds of the season as well, Lorenzo, is the fact that iRacing, they've had a new patch, they've updated the sim. It is week 13 after all, or rather to the end of week 13 and the start of week 1 of the new season at the moment. And one of those big changes was that these GT3 Ferraris, they are on the new tire model now, so completely different handling to what these drivers are used to. They've had to throw out how the fixed setups these guys used to drive, and now they're going to have to figure out the car once again. Whether we'll see other drivers rise to the top still remains to be seen, but as far as the guy at the very top, it seems like nothing's changed during practice.
I think nothing has changed whatsoever for Lasse back, and he's still putting really good times. His best lap was a 2-minute 2:28. But this new tires is actually going to be quite interesting because they're more sensitive in terms of driving style. So you can be aggressive with your driving, but it's not going to be a good payoff at the beginning because you might overcook the tires, and now overcooking tires at the very start will actually take a very heavy toll on your handling throughout the mid stage of the race. And one other thing as well that has been put up in the latest patch is the higher tire wear for the car, so they're gonna degrade much more than usually they did before. So tire management is also gonna be key, so setups are in effect for this race as well.
Yeah, they are only 25-minute races in this series. These GT3s can usually push the hour mark in endurance racing mode, so that sort of tire fall off will only come in the final couple of laps of the race, where they might just to start feel a little bit of degradation. But you can just see Martin Christiansen just weaving that car all over the place, trying to get the burnouts done as well to try and get some form of heat into those tires, which is oh so important with this new tire model. The tires behave much more realistically at cold temperatures than they used to, so there's going to be no first lap of qualifying as your fastest one anymore.
No, it's not. It's probably going to be your third, maybe fourth lap if you actually get the heat in on the tires properly. Your first 2 laps, I can guarantee, will be very sluggish, and I don't mean in the bad way. You're obviously going to try to take the top performance out of your car, but the new tire behave in this fashion. First 2 tires, you're building up heat. Third lap, you might get a top lap if you do everything properly, your inputs are correct. But after that, I can guarantee fourth and onwards, but they're going to have 2 laps, so they're going to have to maximize it out of the gate as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, on that second lap, the tires are still not going to be really at their optimum temperature. It takes quite a while for these tires to get into their operating window, so they're not even going to be their best at that point in qualifying. But we'll just have to see how the drivers deal with it. We're just a couple of minutes away from getting the end of the practice session and going into qualifying for race number 1. If you're unfamiliar with the format of the day, well, it's a little bit like this. We have our little practice session that we have going on right now, which is still very important because the drivers don't actually know which track that we're going to week to week to week. So you know, they do need all the practice that they can get. And then we'll have a 10-minute 2 flying lap qualifying session to set the grid for race 1 of 25 minutes. And then we will do a little bit of a changeover. We'll get another warm-up session. We'll get a second qualifying session to set the grid for race number 2. So no reverse grid shenanigans in this series. But as we tick down here inside of this little warm-up that we have going on here at the moment, Lorenzo, it's you know, qualifying mode about to get engaged for these guys, and with how foreign this car must seem to some of them now with the changes, would that be a cause for concern?
It would be it wouldn't be a major cause for concern unless you haven't got the proper preparation in it. But you know, 30 minutes is enough time of sorts for you to get a grip on what is going to how the car should behave, how the track is going to play out. If there is any differences on track temperature from practice to qualifying, it's going to be very interesting because it might affect the setups a little bit as we come down into the end of our practice session and we head into qualify, Connery.
Checkered flag out there in practice. Those are the standings at the end of this session. Lasse back top of the pile as ever. Martin Christiansen about 0.2 of a second away in terms of lap time, but Magnus Vasterson making an appearance inside the top 3 there. Usually can get himself in the top 5 on a good day, but to see him so high in practice is certainly a positive sign. Fredrik Jorgensen P4, Marcus Jensen in P5, Andreas Joachimsen in P6. So all those drivers that are vying for those second and third spots in the championship, sort of on the edge, getting inside, outside the top 5 in practice session at the moment. And you can see that top 10 being rounded out by Johnny Nielsen there with 5.5 of a second behind. Stefan Overgaard P11, Matthias Woodsko, and you can see the rest of the names on your screen. Mikael Sondergaard, though, currently, well, was P14 in that practice session. Usually we do expect him just to be that little bit higher.
Yeah, we normally expect Sondergaard to be usually a top 5, maybe a top 10 driver, so it is quite surprising for Sondergaard to try to be in this position they actually got at the end of the practice. So let's see what qualify brings out. Maybe he's just training race pace and not qualifying pace.
Yeah, maybe, just maybe. The times do not tell the whole story sometimes, and you can see it cycled down to the 29 runners that we have in this field at the moment. But drivers are out there on their outlaps here for the first qualifying session of the evening, and you can just see the mad weaving and the mad burnouts have started. We see Lasse back right there, just heading his way through the Maggotts and Beckett section, and he doesn't seem to be doing as much mad weaving and burnouts as some of the other contenders. So he's just not messing around and getting straight out there and wanting to do his laps.
I think Lasse Back is going to probably be aggressive when he comes out of the gates. Now he actually just still going to approach fail as we speak. I'm looking at actually Martin Christensen, and he's actually doing a heavy amount of weaving, drifting, and braking into some of the corners. So different strategies to be played out as Back opens up the lap.
Yep. Crossing the start-finish line to start his first timed lap. We're not expecting this one to be the fastest of the two, but what sort of banker can Lasse Back put down? He is coming through Sector 1 at the moment into Village, that right-hander, before you start to change of direction in through the loop. Big side-by-side opportunities coming through there. There's very big wide entries as well, where cars can sling one down the inside. And then you see this draft pass opportunity on the way into Brooklands as well. But Lasse Back, no one around him, of course, in this solo qualifying session. He has the track all to himself. A little bit unstable there on the brakes into Brooklands. Now in towards Luffield, deciding to take the double apex. So one early, one late. Looks to try and get the X off the corner. That steering wheel, though, Lorenzo, is twitching around an awful lot.
It's switching out. It's the nature of the car. He's trying to get the heat up and counter steer so he doesn't lose the angle of the car and maybe overshoots it, because right now, as we mentioned, the first 2 laps is not going to be the best laps you're going to get out of the car performance. So it is going to be essential for Back to minimize counter steering, try to keep the car as straight as possible and maximize as he goes into Back is now heading into Chapel. He goes into third, and actually that's the proper gear. He doesn't go to the outside. If he did it, actually that would have been an off track, and he'll have to reset all over again.
1 minute 30, heading his way down the hangar straight into Stowe for the end of his first lap here. Looks pretty clean and tidy so far for Lasse Back. Seemingly on a knife edge, but he's keeping it well under control at the moment. On the brakes into Vale, and then the final corner of Club coming up in just a couple of moments' time. Marcus Jensen sets the first qualifying time of the session. Lasse Back heading his way across the line. It is a 2-minute .542 for him. Puts him provisional pole position for the moment, just a couple of tenths of a second ahead of Marcus Jensen. The rest of the times coming through from some of your other runners, though. Matthias Woodsko getting himself up into P number 3 for the moment, but we are still yet to see half the field come through to set their first qualifying laps. Andreas Joachimsen sits in P2 at the moment, but Lasse Back seemingly continuing on his form from the practice session in being about 0.2 of a second ahead of everyone.
Still being unbeatable. in comparison to any of the other drivers. He was 2 times faster than the P2 and P3 in practice, but well, practice is one thing, qualifying is a whole other game, so we can still see a surprise provisional pole in the second lap where now tires got a little bit of heat, the drivers did their weaving arounds, now they're gonna maximize their performance and go pedal to the metal for the entirety of this Silverstone lap, which is about 5.89 kilometers off lane.
It is. We're riding on board with Magnus Vastersen at the moment. He hits his way through left field corner and able to get the exit, and didn't track as wide as I perhaps expect drivers to coming out of there, but of course you do have to be very wary of the off-track sometimes, and especially coming through this corner. Cops, if you track out just that little bit too much on exit, it will give you that 1x, but Vastersen keeps himself within the bounds of the racing surface and continues on his way through one of the most fantastic sections in all of motorsport, the Maggots and Beckett's section coming in towards Chapel as well. It's just an absolute roller coaster and is a very, very fun portion of track to drive, which is why Circuit of the Americas copied it. But Magnus Vastersen, he'll keep that out of mind now as he looks to try and find the braking zone in towards Stowe Corner. Lasse back has set his second qualifying lap. He improves by a couple of tenths to set a 2-minute 3:91. Magnus Vastersen, though, he was fast in practice, currently 20th in this qualifying session, but can he get inside that top 5? That would be the goal for Vastersen as he heads his way through the final couple of corners. Jensen oh so close to grabbing pole position away. Vastersen across the line. What sort of lap time is he able to set? It's a 2:01.3 there for Vastersen, so not finding things here in the qualifying session for the first race. It was all for show, it seems, in practice. As Lasse back, he is top of the timing screens by just a couple of thousandths of a second there, which is just a couple of hundredths of a second there, as Jensen, try as he might, just not enough to surpass your championship leader at the moment.
Not enough, but actually he was provisional pole for a few seconds, maybe 5 seconds before Back actually got into the start-finish line. So Jensen could say I was provisional pole for a little bit, but well, that doesn't matter in the whole perspective of things, because Back still with a great showing, and I think basically all drivers put laps into the track. I haven't seen drivers still under second lap. I'm just trying to take a few looks around the track, but everybody actually put laps. Oh, aside Boletoft.
Yeah, he has not set a lap time just yet. He is on his second attempt here, so Boletoft, he has the world at his feet right now, but how far up the timing screen can he put his Ferrari? That's the question. Into Stowe Corner. Tidy as you like, smooth as you like as well from Boletoft. So in quite stark contrast to what we saw from Lasse back, and in towards Vale and in towards Club for the final time here in qualifying number 1. Boletoft, he's at the back of the grid right now, but where can he place his car on the grid? He heads his way across the line. It's a 202.434. It's good enough to not start last, I think is the way I'll say that.
I think he can go a little bit of celebration. I honestly thought he actually got an off track at the exit of Stowe, because that left-hander green painted asphalt at the exit of Stowe, if you go a little bit wider than usual, you're actually gonna get an off track. So fortunately for Boletoft, he didn't get it, and I think we have Johnny Nielsen doing his lap as well. So still a few cars trying to do their laps into the track with a few minutes to go. A few seconds to go.
Nielsen's already set 2 flying laps. He's on his third at the moment, and the other cars out there are similarly are in the same situation. So that is going to be the end of the first qualifying session of the evening, and the grid is now set for race number 1. We'll get that to you in just a couple of moments, but who else than Lasse back in pole position. Marcus Jensen, though, close but no cigar. He still starts on the front row here today. Andreas Joachimsen in third and Martin Christiansen in fourth. It's an all Matthias row number 3 as Woodsko and Jensen will start in 5th and 6th. Kasper Stoltze with a good qualifying starts in 7th place. Fredrik Jorgensen in 8th. Martin Bertelsen and Thomas Hiersen will round out the top 10 starters. Jim Binkback, Magnus Vastersen, Stefan Overgaard and Zali Jankovic will bring things down to P14. Nestaric, Ondegaard, Pedersen, Fritzborg, Eriksson and Olsen will take things to P number 20 on the starting grid. Ollie Oester, Anton Gulish, Thomas Wick and Johnny Nielsen are the drivers in P21, 22, 23 and 24. And Jimmy Riemer, we see Mark Mathiasen, Lucas Daugard, Severin Saling, we see Nikolaj Vollingtorp and Christian Mose round out your 30-car starting grid here for race number 1 of one of the final race days of the season. It's going to be here at Silverstone, and then we'll see a finale at a track that we do not know yet, and neither do the drivers. But as they take themselves to the starting grid, we are a maximum of 50 seconds away from getting the green flag here. So very quickly, Lorenzo, your expectations.
Expectations will be first 2 laps will be very intense in terms of drivers fighting for position, trying to find themselves in the track and trying to get their rubber up and, you know, avoiding contact, because this is a standing start, not a rolling start. So it will be very important how you get that start and in how well you actually got to defend on turn 1 and 2, as basically I think all cars are lined in the grid.
Yes, they are. They let those GT3 Ferraris fill the air with engine noise as they'll be shown the green flag at Silverstone to get this race started. It's a horrible start from Andreas Joachimsen from the second row of the grid. He gets filed all the way back in a big gaggle of cars. Lasse Bach has gotten a stonker of a start at the front of the field as he leads them through the first sector. It's currently Martin Christiansen in second place, almost made contact with Jensen there coming through the loop. There's a bit of side-by-side behind them. Stoltze and Jorgensen while having a little bit of a scrap there. Stoltze actually has a very good run coming out of the loop and might be able to challenge Matthias Jensen in towards Brooklands. He will have to try it the long way around, but if he's able to keep the car there, then he has the inside for Luffield. It was a door open, but it was shut as quickly as it was made ajar. And now Jensen is also having to try to defend. There's a car off in the back, though. We're going to have to see who that is. That's a 073 car. That's Matthias Woodsko that has had a problem here early on. A bit of a mess inside the top 10 as far as I'm concerned to start this race, which is a stark contrast to the clean starts that we've had so far this season.
It's going to be quite complicated, but Jensen nearly again getting involved into an incident. Let's remind that in Bathurst, he also got an incident at the mountain straight and then to the quarry corner. But luckily and also skillfully, he managed to avoid the wall and cause a pile up in lap 1. But now actually doing really good for himself thus far, going to P3, 7/10 behind Martin Christensen. Also good start also from Kasper Stolze, managed to avoid the errors at the start from a few drivers and now in top 5.
Remember, the tires are still very cold at this stage, so you know it's a big risk trying to take early battles, knowing how unstable the car is in this portion of the race. Just wait until lap 3, wait until lap 4 where that car really starts to come alive. But we're riding on board with Jorgensen at the moment. He's gained 2 positions on the start here. Same with Stoltze, same with Matthias Jensen ahead. Joachimsen, though, he had an absolute mare of a start. He just struggled to get that 017 car going off of the grid and just got completely and utterly swamped by everyone.
And there's nothing you can do if you don't get a good start in a standing start. You're gonna be engulfed by a whole lot of people, and all you have to do in your own mindset is get out of the way. Don't get involved in crashes. Let them pass. You still have time left for you to make moves. And as you can see, they go into Brooksfield, and Jorgensen trying to look for an opening to try to overtake Fredrik Jorgensen. And Jorgensen not giving any chances to actually let Jorgensen come in and make that overtake.
Lasse Bak already has a 2.2 second lead over the rest of the field. This man is completely and utterly unstoppable as far as I'm concerned. As long as he doesn't mess up qualifying, he can just get away and clear, and no one can say anything about it. Look at that, just a huge advantage over the rest of the cars at the moment. It's just a flat-out battle for P2 at the moment. Martin Christiansen heading up that train with Marcus Jensen in third place and Matthias Jensen in P4. So we have a Marcus Jensen, we have a Matthias Jensen, and things might end up getting confusing as a result.
Yes, I was going to actually ask you, Connery, before the broadcast if they are actually related, but I don't think they are.
Jensen's a pretty common name.
It is a pretty common name in Denmark, so well, we have to manage our best so we don't get confused. But that train right now is actually now going to be up to the driver's skills. They do two laps in. They are into their third. So now all they have to get in mindset is don't make mistakes. Don't overcoat the tires. The tire wear is bigger now. Now you have to rely on your own skill to try to avoid any mistakes and clear away from the pack.
Thomas Hirsen down on towards the lane. I have to wonder if this is, yeah, it is for a stop and go penalty. We're not getting exactly what this was for, but perhaps for a little bit of an altercation early on in the race that has resulted in Hirsen taking that penalty. And of course, driver no stranger to penalties so far this season, seems to get his hands stuck in, and you know, sometimes a little bit forceful. And now he's going to be cycled towards the back of the field as a result of that penalty. But having a look at this little battle right here, Matthias Jensen versus Kasper Stolzer, both drivers that have gained a decent amount on the start. You did mention Stolzer's wondrous start as well, and as a result, if he disposes of Matthias Jensen here very quickly, then he could just be on for a podium finish, depending on how the rest of this the 20 minutes of this race remaining goes.
Yes, but now he needs to be clearing Jensen right about still. If not, he's going to be a passenger once again. And you can see already Marcus Jensen and Martin Christensen already clearing them off bit by bit after each turn. So there is a little bit of sense of desperation, late braking for Stolze, trying to find an opening. There is not enough. He clips the grass, actually makes it out alive. Now the grass is one talking point, because these new tires, they are more sensitive to grass. If you go over the grass, you cannot accelerate. If you actually do, it's a trip down into memory lane, as you're probably going to be visiting. So to see so excited.
Yeah, so the grass is lava. If you're aware of the childhood game, the floor is lava. The green stuff is lava for these cars at the moment, and we're focusing on Stolze at the moment as he currently continues to try and keep tabs on Matthias Jensen, but Joachimsen is quite close behind him and almost pushes that nose of the Ferrari into Stolze's bumper there, coming through the loop. But Joachimsen's not going to be close enough to do anything here into Brooklands as we're running board with Stolze. You can see from his rear view cam how close that orange and black car of Joachimsen is getting, and through left field gets very, very close indeed, but it's just due to the different lines where the driver's taken through the corner, and Stolze is able to get a little bit of a better exit thanks to his differing one. But right now, this has all calmed down a little bit for the battles inside your top five, and that might be just as well, considering the hectic start that we did have.
Yeah, we don't... Of course, we want to see battles up from start to finish, but it's going to be nature of the track for them to calm down a little bit. Now that you got your rubber up to your optimal temperature, you're going to be able to push the car even more, you get more confident with it. So it's going to be more natural for drivers to start breaking away from packs, or if you actually didn't have a group qualifying, not going to be able to close in a little bit and try to make moves as Johansson once again try to find the opening. Stolz is doing the same thing as well, but here's the thing, it is the same car, the same chassis, the same engine, so you're going to be relying on yourself and yourself alone to make sure you have that opening, you make those overtakes. It's not going to be difference of chassis, power, or BOP itself.
Yeah, I mean, they're fixed setups in these cars as well for this series, so that just makes everything all the more equal between the drivers here as through the first sector they go. Stolz just sort of sitting in a little bit of an awkward situation at the moment. Yes, he has Matthias Jensen very close ahead of him as he carries so much speed into the loop there that I was so afraid that he was going to head straight into the back of the 72. But now Johansson might just be gifted an opportunity here if he can get this slipstream on the way into Brooklands. But I don't think it's going to be enough at the moment unless he wants to go for a desperate lunge. But that is sometimes how the racing goes here at Silverstone. You can very quickly go from offense to defense.
Yes, and basically Stolz had to back away a little bit. He had to weave the car to the right side to avoid the driver ahead of him because he was carrying so much speed and he eventually would touch. But Johansson had to back away as well to try to avoid a possible crash between both of them, so that's why he didn't get the run he wanted to out of the arena part down into Wellington Straight.
Stolz is looking very quick through some of these corners. Was carried a very, very good run through Kopp's corner there, but wasn't able to make anything happen through Magnus and Beckett. So he looks to be having a good run here in race number 1, and is one of those drivers that might be more suited to the more tire model than he was to the older one, as he has never really been in this position so far this series before fighting for positions inside the top 5. So he's doing a very, very good job at the moment, keeping himself ahead of Johansson and, well, keeping Matthias Jensen honest.
Yeah, I think the new tire model actually is going to bring a little bit of drivers who aren't acquainted with the old driving style, with the old tire model. They have to be more sensitive or had to be less aggressive as they wanted to, so they had to change the driving style as they could get the performance they wanted to out of the car. So I think Stolz is quite adapting to these new tires as you guys can see. So it will be not surprising to see more drivers getting accustomed with the new tires and getting good performance out of them and fighting for top positions.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how this develops, coming into race number 2 and of course that final round of the season. 2 more races for the finale at a venue that we do not know for the moment. Having a little bit of a look further back, oh my word, Vasterson carrying a lot of speed into Brooklands there. And Brinkback is kind of a little bit counting his lucky charms that Vasterson didn't run into the back of him there, as these drivers seemingly, at least for those cars second in line, going very, very deep on the brakes into these heavy braking zones, but not committing to a move down the inside, and it's just causing these little awkward situations where you're not sure if they're going to make contact or not.
Yeah, and on the previous lap, actually, Vasterson nearly tried to make that move on the Brooklyn section, but Brinkback actually, with the very, very defensive drive, he was late on the brake and basically shut him off at the entry of Brooklands, and that actually allowed Overgaard to come into this fray. It was a 2-car battle up to a few laps ago. Now it is a 3-car battle, so Vasterson is facing the same situation Stolz is actually facing. He has the room to make the move, but he cannot overshoot it, otherwise he's gonna lose positions.
Yeah, Vasterson again following his man quite tightly through Vale, and 4/10 of a second separate them at the moment. Certainly a good distance to be if you're Vasterson. Gives you a couple of options, especially if Brinkback makes a mistake here at any point. But he's been pretty firm in his defense so far, and he's been able to keep Vasterson behind again. Vasterson very deep into there, and gonna have a little bit of a compromised line coming through these corners as a result, but takes a big wide arc into the loop, and Stolzer right ahead is trying to make the move over Matthias Jensen, and it'll be side by side into Brooklands between these two, and Stolzer's been able to work his way through. He's up into P4 now. Is there a response from Matthias Jensen? He brings the nose to the rear diffuser, but can't do anything more than that. I'll be very interested to see how that actually happened. I think it was just a fantastic run out of the loop from Stolzer, and a combination of Matthias Jensen just tracking out a little bit wide and having to get out throttle.
Yes, it was a good run out of Stolzer coming into the exit of the arena, down into Wellington. So he was basically glued to the back end of the Jensen's car. So that's why it allowed the driver of the 50 from Team Singularity to come in, go to the inside. And Jensen was actually defensive about it. He tried to put the pressure on Stolzer, but he didn't yield. Therefore, Stolzer with a really good move on the entry of Brooklyn and shutting it down on Wolfield.
Yeah, and he'll be safe into Stowe corner as well. So important. Although Matthias Jensen did take a wider line. Jensen's going to be slow off of Stowe here. Is this going to be a deja vu just at a different portion of the track? Joachimsen going to try around the outside and has the inside for Club now. Joachimsen, that's a bit of a daring move, a bit of a risky move, but he makes it work by the time they hit the start-finish line. Again, Jensen seeming to struggle with some of these track exits.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of a kiss between the front right of Jensen and the back left of Joachimsen, but nothing major to make Joachimsen lose his car. And late braking from Jensen, nearly clipping the back of Joachimsen. So Jensen tried to do his best to try to close down on both drivers, but he's losing contact. The last 2 laps were actually his worst of the entire track. Obviously, lap 6 was his fastest, but it doesn't look like it, to be very honest, Conrad.
Yeah, and Vasterson, he'll try to do his best Stolzer impression over Brinkback, but hasn't been gifted the golden opportunity to do so, as Brinkback hasn't really been making all that many errors here in P number 9, and gets a very good exit out of left field as well to try and keep Vasterson a decent distance behind, a good couple of tenths of a second, so he's out of range of any big lunges down the inside. So that's all that Brinkback needs to do at the moment, is just manage the gap back to his competitor, and he'll be golden for P number 9. But we head into the final 10 minutes of this race now, and I just kind of have to look back to the front, because Lasse back, he's 4.4 seconds ahead of everyone right now.
He is, and basically I think there's nobody who actually cashed back unless Bax actually does a mistake, and as you can see on the back bumper of his car, he has the Mamba mentality, so going hard, going for the win every single time, every single lap. So I don't see the driver from RS competition to make any mistakes and allow both Christensen and Jensen, which are very close to one another, to allow them and actually go for a cheeky move on probably on the last few laps.
Yeah, Lasseback just trying to extend that gap back to Martin Christiansen, make this championship all that more convincing for him. Looking at that battle for P number 2 though, Marcus Jensen has kept Christensen honest here, although further back, that battle for P9, it has just swapped around, and in fact they are in an active battle. Vasterson has found his way through in the first sector, but can Brinkback make it happen coming through onto the Wellington Straight? He has a good exit out of the loop here, and now he has the slipstream on the way into Brooklands. Is there a defensive move towards the inside of Vasterson? He doesn't even need it, as he almost outbrakes himself into there. In fact, he does push a little bit wide, messes up the entry to Luffield as a result, but can Brinkback capitalize on it? It doesn't seem that he's been able to.
No, both drivers had to counter-steer their cars because they came so hot into Brooklands. They had to control the car, so they avoided the oversteer, snap oversteer under acceleration. But I think Vasterson had the upper hand. Now he goes far deep into Copse, and if you go actually deep over there, you can actually get a slowdown. But fortunately for Vasterson, he didn't. and Bringback actually had to back the car away so it doesn't get into contact. But now Overgaard is in attack range on Bringback, so he's going to be on defensive now as they come to the hangar straight.
Yeah, Overgaard gained about half a second over both of them on that last lap to bring himself into this position to break into the top 10. Has about 7 minutes to do it and around about 4 laps as far as my timing screen is concerned. So there is time for Overgaard to be able to do something here in this battle. He's steadily been able to manage his race. He's gained 2 positions from a P number 13 start up into P11. So it's been a positive race for him so far, but all racing drivers want to pick up that 1 extra position.
Oh, I was going to mention, by the way, Stolze actually had a mistake on turn 1.
Ooh.
And that was close.
My words, that was close as Matthias Jensen was coming at him at a rate of knots there. I think, yeah, it was a massive error into turn 1. Car just stepped out on him coming through towards the apex, spat him out towards the outside. They'll cut across the circuit. We'll get a slowdown penalty in the avoiding action there that Matthias Jensen had to do. That was a big old sketchy moment. And as a result now, we were singing Kasper Stolze's praises earlier on in the race, and now he's just lost all those hard gained positions and has to make something of this race now in the final 3.5 laps.
Yeah, but now he's applying pressure once again on Jensen. And we see this battle for quite a while now. He applies the pressure on the inside of Cobbs, trying to make Jensen go far wide. He goes a little bit wide, but not enough to allow Stolze to come in. But it's a hard reset for the driver of Kasper Stolze. He was doing just fine a few laps ago.
Yeah, so Stolze needs to put that error out of his mind now. He knows around about 5 minutes left. Still 1 position can be recovered here. A top 5 finish is still great as far as his previous performances so far this season. Could have been just that little bit more perhaps, but you know, up into P4, maybe even climbing towards a podium, it might have happened at the end of this race, but not now, at least not for the moment, pending errors from the front runners. Stolze into Vale. Gonna buy this time for now. He does have that time to work with, so he doesn't really have to rush into things all that much here, and that is such a big temptation if you're a driver that has made an error and lost a couple of positions. You want to be able to recover things as fast as possible, but by doing that, you then just end up making more errors and they all just pile on top of each other.
Yeah, and you really don't want to have any errors on a 25-minute race, because 1 error is already enough for you to be in the back of the field or even out of the race. And so minor errors, like, you know, maybe sliding the car off a turn, or even, you know, over accelerating on turn and have to control the car, maybe it is acceptable. But errors like this, where you overshoot a turn and you come back to the track just at the line, nearly at the apex, could be dangerous for you and maybe race ending. So lucky on Stolze, and Jensen skills himself to avoid Stolze just coming out into turn 3.
Yeah, Stolze keeping himself close. The gap does edge out a bit coming through left field, but nothing that Stolze can't deal with at the moment. 2.5 laps to go. Carries a bit more entry speed into Cops, and that actually does in this instance translate to more exit speed as well. So Stolze a lot more confident coming through that high-speed right-hander. Does that translate to confidence coming through Maggins and Beckett's as well? And I believe it does. It seems like he just has so much more grip coming through here. Maybe these tires are looking a little bit better for him right now, at least as at least as far as him versus Matthias Jensen at the moment. And we did talk about this at the start of the show with the accelerated, or the slightly accelerated tire wear in this patch for the GT3 and the GTE machines. So maybe we're seeing that coming to fruition. Yes, we're about coming up to 25 minutes, basically into the stint, whereas these GT3 cars can go to the hour, but we might be starting to see signs of the degradation already.
Yeah, we're starting to see some small signs of degradation already, where they're going to be struggling for grip, especially some fast changing corners like Maggins and Beckett's, where you're going to have to keep the car straight, and try to avoid errors. And
error.
Jensen go wide, yeah.
Big error. Stolzer senses around the outside, looks for the cutback off the corner. You can see how squirrely Jensen's car was coming off there, trying to get that traction down. These cars do have traction control, remember. And now Stolzer again outside for Brooklands. They get so close, they don't make any contact. Stolzer heavy over the curb on the inside of Brooklands there, but still yet to make any progress. He is seemingly, obviously, the faster driver in clear air at the moment, but Matthias Jensen, despite that error, is still putting up a good defensive effort.
As in, we come right now into Cops, and now he's going to be the golden key for Casper Stolzer. Stolzer needs to manage to avoid the arrow push. There is some small arrow push into Magnus Backus. He does Backus just fine. Now he needs to get Chapel right. He goes into the into the inside curve and try to use the outside curve for maximum speed and acceleration out of it. But Jensen with a good exit, so he's not gonna be in attack range of the car ahead of him. I think I just look at the back end, the front end. Jensen has closed on Christensen for P2 battle.
Yeah, so we have two Jensens involved in two separate battles at the moment, so wish us luck here on this final lap. As there is the other one, Martin Christiansen, Marcus Jensen. They are very close here towards the end of the race. They will cross the start-finish line to start their final lap. So two battles to look at. Christiansen versus Jensen for P2 and 3, and it's Jensen versus Stolzer for P5 and P6, although that latter one has now spread out a little bit over the last couple of moments, up to 7/10 of a second. So we'll stick to this battle for P2 as Jensen, that's a big slide coming through the first sector. He shrugged off a lot of speed and a lot of time as a result of that one, so that makes this pass very, very unlikely unless he's able to completely make mincemeat out of this middle sector. They have to go around the lap down car there of Thomas Hirsen. Jensen trying to go deep on the brakes to make up some time here, but is it going to be enough, or has he just simply lost too much time by that slight error coming through the first couple of corners? The gap is currently 6.5 of a second between them at the moment, and Christiansen might have just gone away with one here on the final lap, because you can see Jensen was sizing up for a move here on this final lap, but with that little error, it seems to have all gone to pot. But a good run through Magnussen Beckett could make up for it, especially if Christiansen makes an error, but it doesn't look like he's going to. Jensen Jensen heading his way out of Trappel now, and he's not going to be close enough, I'm afraid, coming in towards Stowe Corner. Stolzer and Jensen, they are not close enough to have a fight into Stowe either, as they are also heading their way down the hangar straight. But we can just have a little bit of a look back to your race leader, because Lasse Bak, he does this time and time again. It's another race win in the bag, this time at Silverstone for the RS competition driver. Another one to add to his collection. Christiansen across the line takes second place. Marcus Jensen, the final driver on the podium. Stolzer not able to do anything about Matthias Jensen at the end there, so he finishes just outside the top 5. But that is race 1 done and in the books. We'll have a look at battles further back through your field. There's a bit of a train for P14 that have just come across the line. Thomas Wick winning out in that particular battle. As you can see, this gaggle at the back of the field head their way through. So it just goes to show there wasn't just fights at the front of the field, there were fights in the middle and at the back. But this is how they all ended up. Your official race results from race number 1 at Silverstone. Lasse Bak, as ever, this time by 5.5 seconds, over Martin Christiansen. Marcus Jensen in that final podium spot. Andreas Joachimsen in 4th, with Matthias Jensen in 5th. Casper Stolzer with a good run up into 6th, but could have on a good day been a 4th place finish. Fredrik Jorgensen on grabbing 7th place with Martin Bertelsen in P8. Magnus Vassersen finishes in P9 with Jim Brinkback rounding out the top 10. Stefan Overgaard in P11, Anton Gulish P12, Ollie Oster P13, Thomas Wick in P14, Woodsko in 16th, Bollingtoff Woodsko in 15th, Bollingtoff 16th, Jankovic in 17th, Daugard 18th, Eriksson in 19th, and Rima in P20. And then you see the last 2 cars, or the last 10 cars classified as finished. You see Nesvaret, you see Mose, you see Pedersen, Darling, Mathiasen, Sondergaard, Kritzborg, Olsen, Kirsten, and Nielsen will round out your 30-car finishing results for race 1 of the penultimate round here at Silverstone. With that race in the bag now, Lorenzo, just give me your quick thoughts before we go to a commercial break.
Really good first race and a lot of battles from the entirety of the field, especially that P2 and also P4, 5, and 6 battle between Jensen, Kostolsa, and also Jokinsen, but fortunately for Jokinsen getting the top end out of it. But now race 2 promises to be just a good one, and let's see if Bach dominance is over the track actually is put in check over these next few races.
We'll just have to wait and see. There will be a change of time, so it's going to be maybe some different track conditions for race number 2. We'll get that to you in just a couple of moments' time. Join us after this.
Crazy to think like the G-forces too. Like you can feel like your body being pulled to the right. I mean, it's my car.
Maybe he wants to, race the Pit Boy racing. Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I'm trying to do. Let's navigate you over to our waters, all right?
See that?
That's what we need. No draft yet.
Would you please welcome the 2019 eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series champion from Roush Fitway Racing, Zach Novak.
Here to be recognized as the 2019 eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series is first-time series champion Zach Novak. Presenting Zach with the eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series Championship ring, trophy, and a check for $43,750 is NASCAR Series Director Jusan Hamilton.
Let's meet this person.
Race 1 ended as we are perhaps used to at the moment, with another race win for Lasse Bak as he extends his dominant lead in the championship over Martin Christiansen. We can basically crown him as the champion already, but we'll wait until the league officially does that before we jump the gun. But welcome back here to the Danish Esports Racing Championship. I am Connery Maddock. I'm joined by Lorenzo Bonda for this one. We saw a lot of action in race 1. We saw a pretty hectic race start as well. And now we head into the evening here in the British countryside. It's around about 25 past 7 in sim time at the moment. That track temperature has dropped quite a bit from race number 1, and well, if there's any positive sign for the rest of the field, is that Lasse Bak characteristically has been a little bit slower in these cooler conditions as sort of a trend throughout the season. But with practice times like what I'm seeing right now, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not, because Lasse Bak best lap is a 1:59.722. The second best lap is a 2-minute 3:91 from Thomas Jersen, but about nearly, I was going to say, 0.6 of a second slower than Bak himself. So Bak's still running dominant, regardless if it is a cold or hot or hot temperature, no matter what.
Jensen yet to set a time though, and he was one of the closest drivers to Lasse Bak in terms of qualifying, and tried to match him during the race, but not many people can do that. But it'll be good to see where everyone stands here inside of this second practice session that we have going on at the moment, which is going to be ending in just a couple of short moments time. So it is only a couple of laps here, Lorenzo, where the drivers have to get used to these new track conditions.
Yeah, they're not going to get a lot of time into the track, and they have to make their adjustments as fast as possible. If they had a track set up for hot temperatures, they need to make the adjustment for a lower track temperature. And looking at the time at the track, it's only going to get lowered by the hour, because it is going to be 25 minutes. So it is probably going to be around the 20 Celsius on track mark. So it is going to be quite cold. The time's going to be faster, but the possibility of errors is going to be bigger.
Also with a good time, currently second in warm-up sessions so far. So he carries over his speed from race 1 into race number 2, it seems, and was particularly good when the tires were cool. In that first race, he was able to make up those positions very early on in the race, within the first 1 or 2 laps. So if you can do the same here with a good qualifying performance, then maybe, just maybe, he'll be challenging for a second or third step on the podium. I don't think Lasse Bak is going to be bested here, at least as far as I've seen so far in this event, but like I said during qualifying 1, Lorenzo, when Lasse Bak messes up qualifying, and he has had a history of messing up qualifying, especially in these cooler conditions, then the races get a lot more interesting from him. And, you know, we'll just have to wait and see whether this is actually going to be the case for race number 2 as we get into that qualifying session.
Yes, as you guys can see now, practice is over with Lasse Bak doing a 1:59.623. Kasper Stolze is second with a 1:59.0955, about 0.3 of a second slower. Martin Christiansen is third, Martin Christiansen fourth. But one thing we've said, qualifying is one thing, practice is another thing, and if Bak messes it, it's going to be a very chaotic race, not in the bad way, but it's going to be interesting to see if somebody beats Bak into this next 10 minutes, as qualifying is already underway.
Well, it might only require just that single error, because if he gets an off track on a first lap, for example, then it's going to be tough to get in that banker lap, and then of course you have that all on that second lap. You're having to rely on it to get yourself on a good position on the starting grid. It could be that pressure that makes Bak squirm, but right at this moment in time. He has nothing to be worried about. Qualifying session underway. Drivers getting out there doing their outlaps. There's Kasper Stolze up on screen for you now. A big impression was made by him in race number 1, but whether or not he can carry this performance into race number 2, that's the question. He's been the driver far and above the most improved by going to this new tire model.
And this new tire model, as we mentioned, brings out a new category of drivers trying to push the maximum out of their tires, getting more comfortable, because it is more sensitive in terms of heating, and also on it is more intuitive on the inputs of the driver, so you can be more comfortable pushing it out as much as you want, so it behaves more realistically. So it is going to be quite interesting how they perform throughout this qualifying session. As I can see Bach as well doing some weaving, try to get as much temperature as you can on the tires, because it is cooler. It is more difficult for you to bring it up that heat. Maintaining is another thing. If you can bring it up, maintaining is quite easy.
Stolze still on an outlap at the moment, getting his way towards the exit of Magnussen Beckett, and of course down the hanger straight as well. But you can just see how much darker the track is here in this race number 2. Of course, partly cloudy here instead of the clear conditions that we saw in race 1. Of course, the sun being very low in the sky means that that track is not as toasty, not by any means, as it was in race 1. It's currently sitting at 22 degrees Celsius, and I remember it being in the mid-30s as far as race number 1 was concerned. So that is a pretty big temperature delta there that these drivers are going to have to deal with. And Stolze, well, he's on his first flying lap here. We'll remain on board with him as he tries to negotiate the first sector. Big wide arc into the village corner and get that change of direction. Don't track out, or don't go all the way to the entry point of the loop. You simply don't have enough time to with that quick change of direction, so just get your nose in there as fast as possible. Try and maximize that exit coming down the Wellington Straight as well. But for Stolze, a clean lap here will suffice. It doesn't have to be the fastest in the world. He can do that on his second lap, but to have this comfort, to have this safety net is so and so important.
Yes, and you really want to have the safety net in the front where you can actually try to move up as fast as possible like he did at the start of the race. So that's what you want to have in terms of qualifying performance out of a driver. And Stolze, let's see how he does cops. He kind of goes for a wider line and try to avoid the off track he could have got on the green part on the exit, but it doesn't look like it, and he's still going hard.
He is. Through Magnussen Beckett has been pretty tidy, pretty calm, a little twitch coming off of Beckett, but nothing that he can't deal with. Just losing him a slither of amount of time to there. We see the first provisional times come through. Sebac has set his benchmark of a 1:59.737. Currently the only driver inside the sub 2 minute mark at the moment. Stolze looking to try to join him here as he heads his way through Vale, through Club Corner. It's been a very, very clean and very tidy lap for Stolze. Across the line he goes, and it's going to be a 2:04. It's a banker. It gets himself up into P4 on the starting grid provisionally, but we haven't seen lap times from Martin Christiansen just yet, or Marcus Jensen. So Stolze going to need a bit of work to do on this second lap.
Yeah, he's going to have about 4 kilometers left for him to make some work and try to improve that lap. But in the overall perspective of things, he's done a really good lap. I saw a few areas where he got a little bit conservative, but there's room for improvement for the driver of Team Singularity, so he can improve that time quite easily if he actually does this thing, his lines right.
Jensen is still on his first flying lap, a little bit late to the party, but as long as he arrives, it's all fine as he works his way through. And well, Sebac, he's coming towards the final sector now. He is still the only driver inside the sub 2 minute mark at the moment. The closest driver is Andreas Joachimsen, but he's a good 6 and a bit tenths of a second behind at the moment. So Lasse back, he's seemingly just taking everyone to school at the moment, unless Jensen can do something about this, unless Hirsen, unless Christiansen can make a big impact on their second laps. And, well, neither of them have set their first lap at the moment, so we're going to have to wait a while for that to happen. Although Lasse back, he's gone a bit wide, he's gotten the off track, so he won't get a second lap in. Now this is a big opportunity for Jensen and Christiansen on their second laps once they get to it.
Yeah, and we also have our first lap inside, the second driver inside the 159, which is Matthias Jensen, but still about 0.2 of a second behind Bach. And now here comes Stosa, just doing the club section, just past Vale, 2:01, and now Jensen and Christensen are going to open up the lap. So really important moments over here in this qualifying for race number 2.
Yeah, Marcus Jensen then, he ends his first lap in just a couple of moments' time. I'm very interested to see where Christiansen is. He's already come across the line, and he currently is not out there on circuit at the moment, so he'll start as good as 5th at the moment. But Marcus Jensen heading his way across the line. He sets a 1 minute 59.935 as an opening lap here. That is good. That is promising for Jensen here to try and take pole position, because this second lap will be faster with the slightly hotter tires and the slightly more inside the optimal window that they will be here on this lap. So if there's going to be one opportunity, it's going to be this one.
Yeah, it's going to be this one for Jensen. As you can see, he basically uses the full length of that green asphalt section on the exit out to the Wellington Straight, clipping the inside part of Brooklands, also clipping a little bit of the curb, going for the double apex on Lowfield. He's going to use that green asphalt to the max, nearly clipping a little bit of the sand on the gravel trap on the outside to maximize efficiency as he heads down into Cobb's Turn.
Marcus Jensen is one of the only drivers out there on circuit to set a lap here late on in this session. Has plenty of time to be able to do so. He doesn't have to worry about that. It's just him and the track at the moment, and that target of getting lower than a 1:59.737. Jensen out of Maggots and Beckett. Oh, that's so wide off the corner, but I think he's just about gotten away with the off track there. So he will continue on his way down towards Stowe Corner, but you can just see how much he was pushing through that section, and he's missed the apex slightly through Stowe, and he's going to abandon the lap. And that is what happens when you push too hard. It just all comes undone, and now he's not going to get that opportunity to try and go for pole.
Yeah, unfortunately for Jensen, I think clipping that in that grass on the exit of Chapel kind of offset them a little bit. He put a little bit of doubt on his head. He might have gotten an off track, but still going hard. But that is still is a tricky corner, because there are so many ways for you to take that corner, and he took a line that is quite aggressive on entry, and you have to kind of, you know, stick it midway and have a good exit out of it with maximum efficiency. But unfortunately, he just didn't have the good entry he wanted to have.
He did not. 3 drivers inside the 2-minute barrier. Here is race 2, the starting grid of race 2. Lasse back. He's able to get away with one. He only set 1 qualifying lap, but it's the only one that mattered at the end of the day. It's Matthias Jensen instead of Marcus Jensen sharing the front row with your championship leader. Marcus Jensen in P3 with Andreas Joachimsen in P4. Martin Christiansen, though, not a great qualifying. He starts in 5th place. Kasper Stolzer up into 6th for him. Thomas Hirsen, though, getting this session done well. He's in P7 with Martin Bilson in P8. Jacob Kritzborg in P9. Matthias Woodsko will start inside the top 10. Stefan Overgaard starts 11th with Fredrik Jorgensen in 12th place. Grim Brinkback will start 13th with Dali Jankovic in 14th, Ollie Erster in 15th, and Nikolai Volentov in 16th place. Magnus Vassesen starts in 17th with Mikael Sondergaard in 18th, Thomas Wick in 19th, and Christian Eriksen coming to the end of the top 20. Daniel Nestoaretz in P21, Lucas Daugard in P22, Laust Olsen in P23, Severin Saling in 24th to start, with Mark Mathiasen in 25th, Jimmy Rima in P26, Anton Gulish, not a great qualifying session, he starts in 27th place, Christian Mose in 28th, and Jacob Pedersen did not set a qualifying time. He'll start at the very back of the grid. 29th is his grid spot. Oh, we're about 40 seconds left remaining, and drivers taking themselves to the starting grid for the final time here at Silverstone. It was an absolutely fantastic race one in the mid-pack and inside of the top 5, but what does race number 2 have in store this late on in the season? Drivers ready, Ferrari's ready. They will go racing once again at Silverstone. Look at that start from Matthias Jensen. He gets the jump over back. He makes it side by side into turn 1, but doesn't decide to go for the dive. Doesn't decide to commit as there's a massive accident right at the back of the field. That is absolutely huge. I'll have to get a read on who's involved in this, as yet there's more incidents here. Matthias Jensen from P2. He spun the car, and he has to wait for everyone to come through. We've had 2 hectic starts in a row at Silverstone.
Yes, it is the nature of the track body.
Oh! That is huge in the background. What is happening at the start of this race? Drivers having to take avoiding action. Why isn't that driver holding the brake? Oh my word, it's an absolute mess here on the first lap. And wow, well, the stewards are going to be very, very busy here throughout the start of the race 2 to find out what in the world just happened.
Wow, I just saw the catalyst for turn 1. I just couldn't see it, but the catalyst for outside of the loop was actually Edison. He clipped the grass on the outside of the loop, got Stilsa, and actually caught everybody else off course, and unfortunately that's what caused the massive pileup off course on the Wellington Straight.
Yeah, that is absolutely huge. I'm just cycling through to see the first turn incident, as that one was involving, I believe, Fredrik Jorgensen. Look at that mess coming down the Wellington Straight. That is absolutely abysmal there, as Jorgensen was actually tagged from behind by Matthias Woodsko into turn 1, sent him directly into Jankovic, who had absolutely nothing to do with that incident. And you just see that mess down the Wellington Straight there. I see that's Vasterson involved in that one, I believe, as that jet black car tries to work its way through. But here's the race start. You can see the instance that Jorgensen was involved in, as he got tagged from behind and got sent into Dali Jankovic there. As it's right at the bottom of the screen, you see Marcus Jensen go very, very wide, rejoin the racing circuit, and then further behind it is just an absolute mess as far as I'm concerned. You can see some drivers very, very slow to get started. Of course, these GT3 machines not used to standing starts, but this late in the season you should be used to them at this point. And I'm not entirely sure what to make of everything here.
I don't know what to make it out of it either, because it was chaotic. Unfortunately, they managed to. Majority of the drivers came out unscathed. Fortunately for Back and Christensen and some of the other drivers, they managed to survive. But now Back has a good advantage on Christensen, and then we have to focus on that.
Yeah, but 2 Christians actually gained 3 positions out of that, but not as much as Sondergaard. He has gained 11 positions as a result of that complete and utter mess of a first lap. So he's the biggest beneficiary here. Lots of drivers from the back of the field. Anton Gulish is at 18 spots, so he is actually the biggest gainer. So he started basically sort of penultimate row of the grid, and all of a sudden Gulish is top 10. That is insane.
Yeah, this is NASCAR levels of avoidance, to be very honest with you, Connery. So now Sondergaard is in a perfect position, you know, to make moves, get some points, and be where he normally is, which is actually top 5. We know how Sondergaard is a really good driver, so it is uncommon for us to talk, hey, Sondergaard got 11 positions on lap 1.
Hey, the more things change, the more things stay the same, as far as I'm concerned. As yeah, this is really shaking things up. It looks like we've had basically an inverted grid for everyone, sort of the top 7, well, the outside of the top 7 down at this point. So this makes for a very interesting second race. Still 20 minutes of it to go, of course, but we've had drama to fill basically a 12-hour endurance race at the moment. The battle that's furthest up the field, though, that one's going to be between Marcus Jensen and Andreas Joachimsen, who managed to keep their noses clean when the driver that was P2 had that bit of a spin. That was Matthias Jensen that had a problem on that start. And I think, you know, I sort of mentioned it at the time. He got the jump over Lasse back. He was gaining on the way into towards turn number 1, but there was no big old commitment down the inside. He sort of just kind of lifted out a bit, and I know the cold tires are a thing in these cars now, don't get me wrong, but you got to be showing a little bit more desire than that to make things happen, and I think that just sort of spiraled from there.
Yeah, I think there is, I don't know if I can say mentality of, you know, win on turn 1 on lap 1, you know, the lap 1 hero. We cannot say they are lap 1 heroes, they know better than this, but it is surprising nevertheless they managed to get in such a gaggle of, you know, incidents that for a track as wide as Silverstone, it is quite surprising to see a massive incident like that.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Marcus Jensen and Andreas Joachimsen, though, they're going to be perhaps your main feature for the opening portion of this race. Why not? Let's go until the very end as well to see these guys duel it out for that final podium position. Further back, Sondergaard and Woodsko, they have gained 12 and 3 positions apiece coming into this. As Sondergaard, now comes the tricky part. Yes, you've gained all those positions on the start, but now can you hold on to them?
Yeah, now it comes down to your skills, like we mentioned on race 1. How well can you break away from the pack? Can you maximize the lines? Can you go into the turns? And, you know, avoid mistakes. We've seen a plethora of mistakes, so now it all comes down to, you know, settle down. Oh, there it comes Woodshaw on the inside of Brooklyn. They say side to side on the low fuel part. 3 wide nearly into low fuel Connery.
That is very close. Woodsko's compromised off the corner a little bit. It might allow Vastersen a look towards Kops. He looks around the outside. Does he commit down the inside at Kops? You can't often go too wide through here, but they will attempt it. Both drivers giving ample space coming through there. You simply have to, unless you want to risk an absolutely massive incident, and we've already seen multiple of those so far this race, most of which in lap 1. But Vastersen, he knows when he's beat and just has to fall in behind. But he's also in the sort of position where he has gained massively out of that opening lap. He's up 9 positions. So, you know, Woodsko is kind of the odd one out here, and the fact that he's sort of remained where he is as far as the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, he's just staying quiet and trying to, you know, keep his position relatively. So there's nothing he can do in terms of, you know, trying to be aggressive or anything else. You know, he's going to play defensive. He's while he can. He's going to look for the opportunities when he can, but, you know, try to go for side-to-side into Kops and also Bluefield and Brooklands. Yeah, there is a lot of room for error on that one, and unfortunately he didn't make those errors. He kept the car on track and didn't touch off Sondergaard.
The eagle-eyed viewer might have seen Vastersen actually fall off for this battle. That's because he had to serve a slow-down penalty coming through Stowe, and he also had a little bit of afters as well, because he had a bit of a door bang with Jacob Kvitzborg through Vale, and it resulted in Kvitzborg having to cut the course and also take a slowdown penalty of his own. So Rasterson's been in the wars a little bit, which is why he's not involved in this battle anymore. But continuing on, regardless, still 16 minutes left in this race, about 8.5 laps to go, and potential 8.5 laps of action as well, because look at this train. It's currently just inside the top 10. Anton Gulish trying to hold on to those 18 positions gained since the race start. And this is going to be a tall order because he hasn't really shown that much pace coming through, you know, race number 1 and coming through the qualifying sessions as well. So he's going to have quite a task on his hands here, but I've seen similarly heroic defensive drives here at Silverstone, so it's not outside the realms of possibility that he can maintain a top 10 here. He just needs to start the Gulish train.
Yeah, and fortunately for him, what he has an advantage is that he has draft. He only draft in cars not closing by, so they can make moves. Also, one interesting thing to talk about is actually there is fight for the podium. Not only you have this top 10 battle, but you have fight for podiums because Christensen, Marcus Jensen, and Watkinson are actually really close to one another. The gap between each driver is about 0.3 of a second from one another.
Yeah, so that podium fight just closing up. Moves this train for positions on the edge of the top 10. 15 minutes left remaining. There's the battle for P2 though, and it's now 3 cars strong, just like you mentioned it, Lorenzo. It's Martin Christiansen, Marcus Jensen, and Andreas Joachimsen gonna duel things out here, and this is actually pretty important considering all 3 of these drivers are involved in that battle for second place in the point standings.
Yeah, Joe, of course, I'm going to go a little bit and say a joke. I know we normally say in the Formula 1. There's Formula 1 and Formula 1.5. There's DERC and DRC point 1.5. This is the 1.5 battle between Martin Christensen, Jensen, and Joachimsen. So it's going to be really interesting to see who's going to yield or who's going to go harder for positions right here. Because I think Jensen is in a prime position. He was like this last race, so all he has to do is be patient, and he's going to be able to make the moves necessary so he can actually move up a few spots.
Yeah, they are potentially on the cards. Jensen having to look ahead and behind at the moment, considering trying to lock on to the back of Christiansen, but at the same time, Joachimsen is looking very, very strong and very quick behind him as well. So you have to be careful. Meanwhile, Lasseback is setting lap times faster than everyone else by about 1/10 of a second, and he doesn't even have any draft like these guys. So Lasseback doing Lasseback things at the very front of the field. This is very reminiscent to sort of the both the Vettel and the Hamilton sort of dominant eras. He just is at the front and he takes the checkered flag. That's basically the story.
Or we can go like every Ferrari has a Honda engine, a pre-McLaren Honda engine, you know, when Alonso drove it, and back is probably the Mercedes.
Well, they're all Ferrari engines here in this series, so I don't think
it's the same thing.
I don't think they have the excuse, but Marcus Jensen and Andreas Joachimsen is, of course, the main battle that we've been watching throughout this period. And there are battles up and down the field, though, because Sondergaard and Woodsko, they're within about a couple of tenths of a second of each other. There's been a swapping for position further back as well, around about the P16, P17 mark between Christian Mose and Lucas Daugard. So, you know, lots of places to look. And look at this! Oh, this little gaggle here just outside the top 15 will decide to have a bit of a fight now into the left-hander of Brookland. Into the right, Mose gets shoved out on the outside line by Jorgensen, and now he has to try to fight with Christian Eriksson. And Eriksson has the exit of the corner. He's able to get the traction down a bit better, and Mose is currently hemorrhaging positions at the moment because here comes Mark Mathiasson down the inside at Cops Corner. Can he get it done here? He has good drive off the corner, and he's able to pick up the position as well. So Christian Mose, he's sort of been pooling around the back at qualifying and race 1, so it's not entirely surprising we're starting to see him drop through the field now, but he's still up 8 from where he started.
Yeah, still good, good standing from Christian Mose leading in right now. He's going to drop a few other positions as we have Mathieu, I was going to say Mathieu, but lost Olsen coming into Stowe, applying some pressure on the inside of Stowe, and fortunately for Mose, just gets the line right to avoid Olsen to come in for a move, and we have Thomas Wilk come into the pit lane to serve his black flag. Probably stop and go.
Yeah, and well, yeah, stop and go, so he's caught in some of the blame for that opening instant, and something tells me that we haven't seen the end of the penalties just yet from that, so he'll bring that car down on towards pit lane and get that penalty served, just like Hirsen did in the first race, who was the only driver to get a stop and go in that one. As Mikael Sondergaard, Woodskoe, big look from Woodskoe into Brooklands, but unable to make any progress. Does scare Sondergaard though into going deep, and now through Luffield he might be able to do something coming through here, but not going to find the speed off the corner. He can just sit inside that drop though to bring himself relatively close to the driver ahead. But Woodskoe right now carrying a lot of speed through Copse, and he's able to carry that speed through to the exit as well. Doesn't sit inside the slipstream all the way into Magnus and Beckett, decides to take that shallower angle into the first apex and actually gains a bit of ground as a result of doing so. A bit of a different line coming through Beckett's as well, bit of a wider arc on entry and a bit of a shallow line off. And well, this one not going to change for the moment unless there's an almighty lunge at Stowe, but it's good to see these guys have a little bit of a do.
Yeah, nice duel. Massive entry from Woodskoe, just applying that pressure. Closing down on the back end of Sondergaard. And let's see, Sondergaard already closing a little bit on the inside. Yeah, he closed the inside of Vale. Here comes Woodskoe on the outside, trying for an up and under. He's not going to have enough room to do it. In the meanwhile, back in the front, actually, we had a switch of drivers for P3 and P4. Jensen is dropping back. He was P3. Jochimsen took the opportunity, made the move, and overtook Jensen, and now he is P3.
Yeah, he absolutely is. So that one happened at least away from my attention as Jensen popping back a couple of seconds off of that battle now. So it does leave Christiansen and Jochimsen with a 2-second gap over Marcus Jensen at the moment. And Jensen, don't count him out though of the podium, because if Christiansen and Jochimsen decide to scrap, then all of a sudden Marcus Jensen is back into the swing of things. But you know, we do have around about 8 minutes left remaining of this race, so 4.5 laps to go here for the final race of the evening, and one of the final races of the season as well. We just got 2 more to go after this one, and it's been pretty fun. I know you haven't been here for the vast majority of it, Lorenzo, but I have, and it's been a great little series. We've seen some absolutely brilliant battling, most notably at Imola, where somehow these guys managed to make 3 wide work into the final 2 corners and 2x2x2, literally like 6 rows deep. That was a great clip to have. But overall, the season's been very, very positive. It's just some of these incidents here and there can be just a little sketchy.
Yeah, it can be a little bit sketchy, but the driving has been great. The driving has been amazing. I think one of the things favors is just having one car, you know, in terms of, you know, multi-car racing. Of course, everybody likes multi-car racing, explore the strengths of their different chassis, engines, setups, and else. But you know, having the Ferrari as a one-make car and having this kind of league, which is more reliable on skills, and now how you build up the tires properly, it makes for great racing, as you guys can see. Close battles, not just in the front lines, but also in the mid to back lines.
Joachimsen not giving Christiansen a break. Neither is Woodsko with Sondergaard. Big look down the inside again. He's just showing the nose down into these heavy braking zones, trying to cause a reaction out of Sondergaard. He did get one sort of 2 times ago when he tried that, but now he's been trying it, and Sondergaard knows what's up. So I think it's just a case of Woodsko having shown his hand now, and Sondergaard's have called his bluff now from this point forwards.
I think Sondergaard basically saw that Woodsko is basically just hanging in the back. He's not getting in, you know, good runs for Ashley to be under threat. I think the only time he was under threat was actually Vale, I think 2 laps ago. So Woodsko actually doing a good run, but not applying enough pressure on Sondergaard for him to, you know, make a mistake, open up a gap for Woodsko to explore and go for a place up. He's just, you know, settled down on his rhythm and just doing what he wants to do.
In his comfort zone, 2.5 tenths of a second, up to 3 tenths of a second, and even 4 coming out of Chapel. So that gap just fluctuating in and out at the moment. Same can be said for the battle for P number 2 at the moment between Christiansen and Joachimsen. That one hasn't changed all that much, but you know, one slight error here and there could potentially spell the doom for one of these battles. We've had a stop-and-go penalty for Thomas Hiersen that was then cleared, so we'll just have to deal with that one. But Martin Christiansen and Andreas Joachimsen, 3 tenths of a second between them, and Joachimsen here, is he just content to sit behind here for at least one more lap before deciding to go for any hopeful dives here? Because now we are starting to take those laps away and, you know, quickly getting to that checkered flag. So soon, time will be of the essence.
Yeah, there's 2 laps left for Joachimsen, so he needs to, you know, start analyzing where he is the best place and where he should make the move. But the problem is that if he makes the move and Christiansen is just as fast, you know, he's just saving a little bit of rubber to the final 2 for the final 2 laps, or maybe the final lap, is how Joachimsen can defend. So he has that on the back of his mind. So the question is, if Joachimsen makes the move, does he have enough to hold down Christiansen pressure on the last 3 minutes of this race?
Brings it close into the high-speed section of Maggots and Beckett's, but it's the Chapel corner, the exit of this sequence, that is just so important to line up that run in towards Stowe. And Joachimsen seems to have gotten the slightly better of the 2 exits there. Maybe, just maybe, not going to show the nose just yet, but in a very, very threatening position at the moment. Christiansen's always being put under pressure, just as Joachimsen sits these sort of 1-2 tenths of a second behind. Big look into Vale, but the door is shut, and, well, Joachimsen didn't even try to slide himself through. It was just a big, big old look. It has lost him a little bit of time as a result. Gap is up to half a second, but 2 laps remaining. That is still pretty much nothing.
Still pretty much nothing for both drivers, and Joachimsen is going to close down once again. As you guys can see, he's working the drive, closing bit by bit. Late braking from Joachimsen, heading to turn number 3. Now he's going to start the loop bar, left-hand turn, about 4 tenths of a second between him and Christiansen. Now he is going to work the draft. He's not going to be in attack range though. He's probably going to set that up for the but Hanger straight if he gets the Maggots and Beckett's right.
Yeah, this goes all the way back to that look into Vale, sort of compromised his run also through Club Corner, and he lost a lot of time as a result. So he's going to have to try and spend this lap, try and recover that gap, and then maybe be able to make something happen on the final lap. That could just be the plan here for Joachimsen. He does have the draft to work with here. 4 tenths of a second on the way into Cops Corner. Across the old start-finish line they go. And Joachimsen has characteristically been good through this high-speed section, but how good can he make it? It needs to be exemplary for it to result in an opportunity into Stowe Corner. He's It's not going to happen this time around, but it's that last lap is going to be the one that counts here in this one.
Yeah, as they just do, Maggots and Maggots come out of Chapel. Jokinson with a more cleaner run on the outside of Chapel. He's going to use the job for about half a second between him and Christensen. Excuse me. And now that last lap is going to be everything for Jokinson. If he really wants that P2, he's got to be really aggressive, late braking and else, as Bach is about to open up the final lap. And meanwhile, about that Woodshaw Sundergaard battle we had a few laps ago, we were covering Connery. Woodshaw actually managed to overtake Sundergaard on lap 11.
Yeah, he did. He was able to work his way through. And that means that this battle for P2 is going to be the one that we focus on to the end of the race. But Jokinsen seems to have lost a bit of time over those last 2 laps, and it's really put a damper on his final lap chances unless Christensen cracks here. It's a slightly slow middle sector though from that driver in second place, so Jokinsen is able to edge his way in bit by bit and can sit in the draft coming down the Wellington Straight. Lasse back, as far as the race leader is concerned, is off and away 5.5 seconds ahead of this particular battle, so he is going to end up being the race winner here as long as he can keep it on the grey stuff. I'm not giving him the curse of the commentator here for one of the final races of the season. But with time expired, that is confirmation that this is the final lap, as Lasse Bacchi heads his way across the old start-finish line into Kopp's Corner, which used to be the old turn number 1. But Jokinsen and Jensen, they're closer this lap than they were the last lap. You can just see them in the very back shot there. Jokinsen needs to just ace this run through this section, and he might have a chance into Stowe Corner, try and get the traction off of Chapel, but I just think he's a little too far back. 0.4 of a second, quickly closing in towards Stowe. It's going to have to be an almighty lunge into Vale with a good setup here through Stowe if it's going to happen at all, if it's even going to happen. Christensen pushes slightly wide, but it's not going to matter in the grand scheme of things because it is all the same at the very front of the field. But Jokinsen goes for it. There's a bit of contact. Lasse back. He's headed his way across the line to take another race win, but Jokinsen out of nowhere went for this dive. He went for the full-on send, but it's ended in embarrassment.
It ended, unfortunately, in embarrassment for Jokinsen, dropping down 2 places. He's now 5th position across the line. So worst case scenario for Jokinsen, his risk higher than the reward for the driver of the number 017 car, and unfortunately bumped out of the podium just at the finish line. Marcus Jensen is gonna say thank you very much. I had nothing to do with this. So P3 for Marcus Jensen's out, Team Redline.
Yeah, Christensen, not sure what he could have done there. Is Jokinsen going basically all 4 tires onto the curb to try and make that one happen. But drama at the very start of the race, drama at the very end. As you can see, those drivers just giving themselves a little bit of a friendly shove just to acknowledge the good race. But Lasse back, he had the best race, he had the best event, and he has had the best season. He wins again, this time by 5.7 seconds over Christensen. Marcus Jensen picks up a 3rd place, a podium spot after that incident. Biddleson hauls himself up into the top 4, which is brilliant for him. Jokinsen, though, drops a couple of positions as a result of that hopeful lunge. He finishes in P5. Matthias Woodskow with a good finish. He's up into P6. Sondergaard in 7th. Magnus Vassersen in P8. Anton Gulic from 27th on the starting grid comes home in 9th. So he is able to hold on to those positions that he gained on the very start. Nestoric in P10. We have Severin Skalin in P11, Nikola Bollingtov in P12, Jimmy Riemer in P13, Fredrik Jorgensen P14. Ollie Erster finishes in 15th and Christian Moes in 16th. Matthias Jensen started front row. Unfortunately, his race was pretty much done out of the final corner. He finishes in 17th place. as Christian Eriksen P18, Laust Olsen P19, Pedersen P20, and then the rest of your runners. Thomas Wick, Ali Jankovic, Lucas Daugard, Mark Mathiasen, Jacob Fitzborg, and Brinkback, Stefan Overgaard, Thomas Jessen, and Kasper Stolze will round out your 29 cars that took the race start. But with a pretty dramatic Silverstone over, that's the racing done and dusted. But we're not done here on Racesport TV just yet, because we have the post-race show coming at you just after this. Action pretty much everywhere you looked here at Silverstone this evening in the two races that we've had here in the Danish Esport Racing Championship. Round number 7 is done. We look to round number 8 to finish off the season with 2 more races at a mystery track. But here is the post-race show. I am Conor Matic. I'm joined by Lorenzo Bonda for this one. We might get driver interviews in just a couple of moments' time. But look at that, Lorenzo. Just that one event to go. 2 races, 1st of April. We already know who the championship winner is, but it's still a big question mark over P2.
Yeah, we still have a big question mark over P2 is because we still have a battle between Johan Andreas Jochimsen, Martin Christensen, and Marcus Jensen. So 3 drivers fighting for P2 and P3 in the standings and in the top overall podium. So it is going to be a very interesting race. Who's going to get the April Fool's joke, because it is on 1st of April. Still a great racing nevertheless. The Lassie Bot dominance just extends and extends. Put a ballast on that car, on that man's car. I think that might be more competitive and he might be able to win it. But still great racing from top end both races. And the last race should be an absolute banger, as this one just was.
Yeah, on April Fool's Day, I have to wonder if the stewards have anything in store. Maybe a full-on reverse grid from qualifying when the drivers least expect it. That would really shake things up. But my fantasies aside, we did have a brilliant event here at Silverstone, and it just exemplifies what this series has been about, with the close battling and sometimes the friction between drivers, and Lasse back coming away with another race win. And speak of the devil, he is here ready and waiting to talk to us again. This is becoming very, very regular at this point, Lasse. It's another 2 race wins in the bag. The championship is very, very, very secure as far as you're concerned, coming into the final event of the season. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling absolutely amazing. To get 2 wins again, it feels so fucking good. I'm sorry. I am so happy right now. Yeah, I'm really excited to try that out. The Ferrari, which you won the prize, the first prize. Yeah, I'm absolutely really happy right now.
Yeah, it must be absolutely incredible. Hugo might have to get ready on the buzzer in case some naughty words get said again. But you know, throughout this season, you sort of have been the man to beat, and some drivers have gotten very, very close on occasion. Marcus Jensen has challenged you in a couple of races. Christiansen's gotten very close as well, but in almost every single instance, you've come out on top. And can you put that down to any particular trait that you have?
Like what I'm doing, or to get there, or
yeah. What are you doing to be able to get the advantage?
Yeah, I don't know. I just put in so many hours. I practice a lot. For example, like I was a bit off pace when the prequel was going on to this track, so I just put in a little bit more work and to get the extra pace, an extra tense out the car. I just found something on this track again that just hit kaboom, and I was gone. I don't really know how I do it, but yeah.
And you're probably the best person to talk about this, considering the changes that the GT3 cars and, you know, by extension the Ferrari has had in the recent iRacing update with going on to the new tire model. You know, how have you found that adjustment?
I think it feels pretty good, but of course there's still some things that needs to be tweaked. But overall I think it's much better actually than the last time model. It did take a bit of time to get used to. It was a bit frustrating in the start to get used to, because you know the car felt different, and that's a bit frustrating. But after like 100 laps with the new time models, it felt really good, and I really like it right now. I think it's a good step forward. Yeah.
There we go. Of course, an ever-improving product, iRacing, and you know, it's still early days as far as the new tire model on these GT3 cars, and of course the GTE machines as well. So we'll get to see those in action in the 12 hours of Sebring coming at you this weekend on the iRacing service. And Lasse, is RS Competition going to have an entry?
Nope, sadly not. We are not going to entry. I kind of need a driver to drive with, and I don't have that right now. So we are not going to participate in that race. Sadly not.
There we go. You'll just have to wait for another time. But just overall, just coming to the end of the interview now, it's I've asked you this many times, but is there anyone you want to thank for what has been a great season and what has been a great event?
Yeah, of course. The team as competition, I'd like to thank them for the support, and my family, and all the other people that have been supporting me through this whole season. It's been amazing so far. So yeah.
And just one quick question before the end. Yep. Are you going to have a bit of fun next time for the final round?
I don't know. I'm thinking a bit about it, but I don't know yet. I have to see and wait and see what happens.
It's the Lasse back last the first challenge or something like that. That's
that could be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just have to see if that happens. But thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you on the 1st of April for the final round of the season.
Yep, thank you.
Well, there we go. Lasse back, yet another race win, and quite a regular in the Race Sport TV commentary booth at coming throughout the season, and it's for good reason. You know, he's been at the top of his game for pretty much the entire time. And as a result, he's got the championship win. We can basically say that's confirmed at this point. And, he said he was thinking about having a bit of fun for the final round of the season.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of fun he would be having. Maybe start from the back.
Yeah, that's why I alluded to with like the last first challenge.
I just realized, no pun intended, by the way.
I didn't even realize that one either, and I've been making back puns throughout the series, so there we go. You've gotten one past me, but with that now, is there anything you want to add before we wrap up the broadcast?
Nothing to add. Just great racing. I can't wait to see the last one. Imagine if it is an April Fool's track. They go for something more NASCAR like going to the Roval. It would be interesting, but nevertheless, the drivers must be prepared no matter what to try to break dominance. You know, guess? Let's guess who's gonna be coming out on top. Maybe a driver that is not Lasse back.
I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, because Christiansen, Jensen, Joachimsen are all very, very close for that sort of second spot at the moment, which will be the big theme coming into the final round of the season. That will happen 1st of April at a track that we do not know just yet, and neither do the drivers. But let me tell you, it's going to be an absolutely brilliant race, just like so many of the races that we've had so far this season. It's the finale of the Danish Esports Racing Championship, coming at you in just a couple of weeks' time. I've been Conor Umatic. That's been Lorenzo Bonda. We've had Hugo Luis behind the scenes making everything happen. Thank you to Istvan Balo Trackcams 22 for providing us some fantastic views of this Silverstone circuit. And we'll see you guys in just a couple of weeks.